Hey, welcome. I'm Richard from Rayder Rich, and in today's tutorial, we're crafting a haunting drone using UVI Falcon. I hope it will be perfect for spooky soundscapes. So, I have loaded Falcon into Ableton Live, but you could do it anywhere. And I created one MIDI clip that is playing a D-sharp 1 note for 32 bars, and it will continue to loop it. So I don't have to press any keyboard to make the sound actually heard. So let's open Falcon. Here it is. It has an empty patch right now. And I prepared a sample that I'm going to use. And it comes from the first time I actually used my mod wave, which was on the 24th of March 2023. I can't believe actually that my mod wave goes back so far and I still haven't used it enough. So it's a melody played by myself with a patch that I created that day. But let's see if we can make use of that. So, what I'm going to do is use Falcon's multi-granular oscillator. I'm going to throw it here so that it covers the entire keyboard. And it will ask to drop a sample in here. So the song we just played is going to be dropped here. And this will be like the start of the patch. Let's see if that one note is still actively playing. Here we go. So we have one voice playing that piece of music, but at a lower pitch because I'm playing at D-sharp 1, while the sample is based on C3 as the bass note. So let's increase the number of voices playing. This will take a while before activating. What I can do is actually start playing again. So, oof. We now have 8 voices playing that same sample, and it's going in the red. So I will turn down the volume inside of Falcon to avoid it clipping. Let's see if we're still in the red. So I will take it down a bit more, 6 dB or something for now. So we have 8 voices currently playing this sample on the same position. I'm gonna spread it so there will be more space between these lines playing over the same recording. And what I will do is have the size larger, introduce some jitter so that it's not fully robotic, the same every single time we go over this sample. And I'm going to set the loop mode to forward backward. And also I will introduce 12 cents of pitch variation between those 8 grains being played. I will start the playback once more so we have a good baseline. So here you see those 8 lines, and they're kind of jitterish playing through the same sample, but on different parts of it. Now that there are not 8 voices playing all together at the same time, I can turn up the volume a bit again. So I can now also change the position and randomize the position where we are playing. This is all not scientific. So it's just making a lot of random variations. So this is now the sound as is. It could be any sample you have, preferably a somewhat longer sample without too much variation, because we want it to be a bit drony and a bit haunting. Okay, one of the first things I always do in sound design is add a reverb. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. Now, SparkVerb is my reverb of choice, whether it's inside Falcon or as a separate plugin, which I own as well. And I'm gonna go to some sound design-ish presets. This is Bizarroid. And this glues those 8 granules together in the mix. So it's starting to become one big sound. Can increase the size of the area. So you can hardly recognize the original recording anymore, which is good. Next, I'm gonna also add a delay, and my favorite is Dual Delay X. And I think I found something kind of creative before. I think it was modulated caliper. If we remove it or add it, so everything will kind of wash out in reverb and delay. I will remove the reverb for a moment. Okay. Next, let's add on this layer, because you can have multiple layers in a Falcon program. As you can see, I put the reverb and delay on the program level, so this will go over all the layers we might actually create, but just relax, I'm going to keep it at one layer. I'm going to add a filter, a low-pass filter, so that we can cut out any high frequencies we might have. I currently hear almost nothing because we were at the end of the sample where it kind of fades out the recording. Now it comes back in. Perhaps a little less reverb, so we keep hearing some details of the original recording. Okay, so the low-pass filter in itself we can play around with. It's cut off. Like around 200 Hertz, only very low frequencies will come through. I will even make the volume of the entire Falcon even higher. We're at the end of the sample again. That's why it's becoming silent for a moment. And as you know, with a low cutoff, raising the resonance, we'll get interesting peaks in the sound. Which, if you're not careful, can not only overdrive the sound, but also kind of hurt your ears. So be careful with resonance settings. So I'm thinking it's probably interesting that I don't move the cutoff and resonance myself, but let Falcon do it for me. And that's actually very easy. And this is why Falcon is such a fantastic sound design tool. If I right click on the cutoff, I am able to add a modulation to this particular knob. And I'm going to make a LFO modulation that controls that knob for me. You will see that here. It turns up and down and up and down. See? We don't want to have it go so far, so I turn down the depth a bit, and also the frequency can be lower. I don't want to move that often and so fast. The LFO shape is a sine wave. We can change that, but for now I will leave it. So now you can see that it will be closed for longer and then open up and stay open for longer. Here we can set how much modulation we want. I want to lower that a bit because I don't want the cutoff to go all the way to 0, but I also don't want it to go all the way open on the filter. So this is the frequency I'm content with now. To make it interesting though, we can also right click on the resonance knob and add its own LFO there. And that doesn't have to be the same LFO. That's why I'm making a new one with its own complete settings. So we can change the modulation a bit so that it doesn't go fully. Okay, the frequency can be high if we want. So it will be more pronounced when the cutoff is low, because resonance tends to be experienced more or better when the cutoff is a bit lower. I can also set a starting value. Maybe I always want at least that resonance, but the frequency can go down. I don't want it to wobble that much. We want to make like a haunting, slow droning sound, so I think all movements should adhere to that. Now, we have a pitch on this particular oscillator, and I can also put another modulation on the pitch. Let me see. I can have an LFO, but I can also introduce the drunk LFO. And there will be now one semitone of drunkenness. But I can double click it and say, well, I want it to go further. I want to have this pitch change a maximum of 7 semitones. And now you hear that new effects are being introduced. We set the trigger mode to no retrigger. This will go on and on and on. And the higher we set the bandwidth, the more drunk Falcon becomes, or the operator. So here you will see this wobbliness on the pitch. Okay, good enough for now. I think it's time to add another oscillator. We have this mod wave sound recorded over a year ago as our bass. And I will add another oscillator, and this time I choose a wavetable oscillator. Let's see if it actually sounds. I have this feeling it does not. Actually, I think everything stopped. And I don't know why. Okay, let's start again. So now we have this sine wave playing a D#1 as well. Oof. I don't know about your speakers, but mine are trembling right now. Okay. For this wavetable that's playing together with the multi-granular oscillator, I want to have a formant vocal sound. And I want to have multiple voices. Oops, that skipped there. 4 voices or something in stereo. I want to make sure if I turn the wave index that they're not all playing exactly the same. And I have to actually figure out why this stops playing. Okay, that's weird. But now we actually have everything playing again. Somehow that loop wasn't playing correctly, I'm sorry. So as you can hear, if I change the wavetable index, if it keeps playing, that is, there's some interesting wavetable stuff happening. Got to spread it a bit in the stereo spectrum, but also detune the 4 voices compared to each other. Because detuning is probably one of the spookiest things you can do. And wouldn't it be interesting? I know some hate this or are tired of this. I'm looking at you, Synth Seeker. But it would be fun, in my opinion, to have this wave index change over time by itself. I don't want to turn the knobs. I have a machine doing that for me. So you may have guessed it, we can use another LFO. But it's, yeah, let's do just an LFO. But you have different waveforms for the LFOs, and let's choose the Chaos Rosler. So this waveform is not moving just very, not in a sine wave, but a bit more chaotic, so to speak. But it's doing it very fast right now. I want to lower the frequency because we're hunting, so it can be really slow. Okay, sounds great. Sounds good to me, to be honest. So, and because everything is first going through that full reverb and then through a dual delay, we kind of add extra ambience to it, but also make sure all the different things that are going on are being glued together. Okay. Now, if we have this playing, we can also change, for example, the panning. Let's do this by hand for a moment. So I panned all the way left now, but because it's going through stereo, reverb and delay, there will still be affected sound in the other ear. I think it would be fun if this panning knob is also moving to add to the spookiness. So we're adding another modulation source, and this time I'm going for, I think, a step envelope. This will, you will see this panning step. Okay, I'm gonna make it bipolar, so it will step left and right, depending on the sequence that's being set up here in the bottom. Let's find some sequences and see what happens. Okay, that's fun, but I guess I'm pretty sure we can find better ones. It can be very rhythmic, or it can be like this. So here you see the panning knob change, but only to the right. I don't know exactly why that is, to be honest. I want to set it bipolar, and still it goes only to the right. That's probably because of how this type of step envelope works. But we can set our starting value to the left, so there will be sounds on the left ear, in the right ear, and again the reverb and delay will make sure we hear it across our ears anyway, but with a little bit of variation. We can turn down the frequency. It's now very fast. We can slow it down. It's now adhering to the volume or the tempo of our song or project, which is 30 BPM. But it doesn't have to be like that. We can turn off this metronome and then set the frequency ourselves. It can go very fast, making the panning knob wobble quicker. But we can also set it very slow, making it fit more to the drone aspect of our sound design. So here you'll see it will stay on the right for a while, and then slowly move to the left, and so on and so forth. I think that the pitch of our combined oscillators is a bit too tame still, so right-clicking on the knob and then saying edit modulations. I don't know why it tells me the pitch band, because I am sure I set up an LFO to actually, yeah, the drunk effect. Okay, so I don't know why it didn't show that. Can we make sure that this goes a bit more out of tune? Perhaps the bandwidth must be higher then, for more drunkenness. A bandwidth of 100 Hertz, more or less. So now there's more modulation of the pitch. Our panning is being modulated. The wave index for our formant vocal is being modulated. So this will slowly go through this wavetable. We have 8 voices, 8 grains of this mod wave sound playing. A little bit out of position with each other, but still following each other up, with a pitch variation of 12 cents. And we have a reverb and a delay working on the overall mix. I think it would be fun to add another effect. There are many in Falcon. Let's, for example, add a phaser. What would be a fun phaser? Perhaps the analog fields. And I will put it in front of the reverb and the delay. This was probably from the SFX, the alienator. Let's hear it without. And with. Pretty cool, if you ask me. And I think to top it off, another reverb, but a shimmery effect would be kind of fun. So let's put that at the end. You have to be careful how wet we make this. We don't want everything to drown. Of course, you can do this type of effect with other plugins like Valhalla Supermassive. But I just want to use all the tools inside of this Falcon. Is there another one flying to the stars? Just a bit too many high. Paranoid sounds fun. I'm not sure if it's haunting and creepy enough, but we'll leave it at this, otherwise this video will become way longer than you are willing to watch, I'm sure, if you're still here even. So I can only encourage you to sample something. I have another great idea actually, which I will use in another video. Hold on to that for a moment. I encourage you to sample something and throw it in Falcon, in the granular engine. Add some wavetables, add effects, lots of them. Filtering can be fun, but not always necessary. And then go to town with all the modulations that are possible. It's endless. I mean, this is not like a synthesizer that has only one LFO. Yes, they exist. Or even 4 LFOs. Or like 6 LFOs and 6 envelopes like my Quantum Mark II has. Now this is literally endless until your system melts down. Thank you very much for watching, for listening, and please let me know in the comments, was any of this even useful at all? Or are you like, yeah, Richard, better go play that Quantum once more? Anyway, I'll see you in the comments and in the next video. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.